Now, as runners, we all have different goals for progression, but one major indicator of running fitness is your heart rate. How fast can you run before your heart rate gets too high? So whilst I can't speak for every runner out there, something that most of us want is to be able to run faster with a lower heart rate. At the very least, be able to look down at a heart rate on a nice easy run, like this one, and not be shocked by a super high number. Of course, you don't need to be an expert to understand that the more you train, the more efficient your body becomes, meaning that you could run at a certain speed with less effort than before, meaning a lower heart rate. Simples. Well, clearly not, otherwise we would have all cracked this long ago. So what could be happening, or what could you be doing wrong? Well, firstly, everyone has a higher heart rate when starting out, even professional triathletes and runners. So if you are just 1 week into your running journey and you find you've got a higher heart rate, don't be alarmed, particularly if you've had a period of time off exercise or running. Also, heart rates are very personal. For instance, here on GTN, James and I have very different heart rates. James has a typically quite low heart rate when he's exercising, whilst mine is a little bit higher. Now, in terms of what we can physically do, actually James and I are quite similar, but our heart rates almost seem to tell a different story. And it likely comes down to physiological differences, sizes in hearts, and whatnot. So don't go comparing your heart rate to others. Instead, focus on your own heart rate, what's normal for you at certain intensities. Now, the biggest mistake I see people making is running too fast. And I get it, you want a good workout, so surely running harder is going to do that. True, but you can't run hard on every run. Well, you can, but then you need to space your runs out more, meaning you don't run as much, meaning you don't improve as much as you'd like. So, if you remember back to your biology days at school, you may remember hearing about mitochondria. Now, mitochondria are essentially the energy producers of our body, often referred to as the powerhouses of our cells. Now, someone with a lower mitochondrial density will produce less energy than someone with a higher mitochondrial density, meaning that their heart will beat faster to keep up with energy expenditure, while someone with a higher mitochondrial density will actually have a lower heart rate whilst running at the same speed. So in short, the more mitochondria you have, the fitter you'll be, the faster you'll run. And where is mitochondria built? Running in zone 2, not running flat out on every run. Now, the problem is, most people don't know what their zone 2 really is. Sure, we all have this so-called zone 2 that we'll head out at on a nice, easy run, but is it really? Yeah, if you are really focused on trying to lower your heart rate and just generally get fitter, then you need to accurately calculate your training zones. Now, a lot of watchers actually have this built in and calculate it as you go. And for the best results, we would always recommend wearing either a chest strap or an arm strap, which will record your heart rate, rather than just relying on the optical heart rate sensors in your watches. Whilst they are really good, the technology is always advancing, just sometimes trying to get that contact around your wrist can be tricky. Some watches, like the Chorus I'm wearing today, will also have a running test built into them. Personally, this is what I would do to make sure my numbers and zones are bang on the money. You can also do your own field test. After a good warm-up, perform a 30-minute best effort run. Your average pace and heart rate for those 30 minutes is essentially your threshold run pace and heart rate. You can now input this into one of the many online calculators that will create your training zones from this. Well, now you have your zones, you can put this to work in a training plan of sorts. That sounds really daunting and scary. Don't worry, it's more of a kind of loose structure to keep in the back of your mind. And it's suggested that your training should consist of around 70 to 80% in this easier running zone 2 intensity. This is where you're going to be building that aerobic fitness that is going to allow you to run more and further. Then the other 20 to 30% of your run should be at a harder intensity, predominantly zone 4, while still probably touching on the odd zone 3 and zone 5 intensity. Now, you can kind of think of this as the zone 2 intensities building the foundations of your house upwards, and then the zone 4 work, essentially kind of building your roof right to the point. So if you're able to perform this week in, week out consistently, you're building essentially your house upwards. And low heart rate running is not something that happens overnight. In fact, it can take anywhere between 3 to 6 months before you start to see any kind of improvement. So do not give up. And also, don't get too hung up on what pro athletes are doing and the numbers that you can see of theirs on YouTube videos or even your friends. Just focus on your own numbers, and also hopefully starting to see paces improving for the same given heart rate, and maybe even your heart rate starting to drop over time. Well, best of luck on your journey and best of luck with all your training. Get involved in the comments below if you've got any questions, and if you enjoyed today's video, please give it a thumbs up and give it a like. See you next time.